The most dangerous casino trap in Las Vegas doesn't look dangerous at all. It looks easy. It looks comfortable. It looks like convenience. That's the shift. The old image of a casino trap is loud, aggressive, obvious. Flashing lights, no clocks, no windows, a room built to keep you inside. But the newer trap is smoother than that. It doesn't feel like pressure, it feels like service. It feels like comfort. It feels like everything around you has been designed to remove one tiny moment after another where you might have stopped, thought, and walked away. If you want the simplest version, here it is. The trap is not just the slot machine, it's the system around the slot machine. The machine is close to your room. The chair is soft. The drink comes to you. The money moves digitally. The reward points make every loss feel partially justified. The screen gives you near misses, bonus teases, and just enough small wins to keep momentum alive. Nothing in that chain feels dramatic. That's the point. Modern Las Vegas doesn't always trap people with force. It traps them by making continued play feel like the path of least resistance. That's what makes this version more effective. A bad decision is easy to notice. A smooth sequence of convenient decisions is much harder to detect. You don't say, "I'm about to spend 4 more hours here." You say, "I'll do 10 more spins." Then, "I already loaded money in." Then, "I'm close to a bonus." Then, "I should use my points." Then, "I'll leave after this drink." Then suddenly, the night is gone. That's the architecture of the trap. It doesn't ask for one giant yes. It quietly collects 50 small ones. Convenience matters because friction protects people. Friction is the pause between impulse and action. It's the short walk to cash out. It's the inconvenience of getting more money. It's the moment your body gets uncomfortable enough to stand up. It's the break where your brain can reset. Casinos understand that those little interruptions are dangerous to the house, so the environment is built to soften them. Not always in a sinister movie villain way, in a practical design way, in a business way, in a behavioral way. If the player stays seated, keeps spinning, and keeps the session emotionally unbroken, the casino is in a better position. Las Vegas didn't just build bigger casinos, it built more seamless ones. The modern casino floor is less about pushing and more about absorbing. The hotel, restaurants, bars, shopping, sports screens, digital rewards, cashless options, and slot floor can all feel like one continuous experience. The dangerous part is not that any single feature is evil, it's that together they reduce the number of natural exit points. You're not just visiting a casino anymore, you're moving through a system that keeps reintroducing play in 100 soft ways. You go downstairs for coffee and pass machines. You head to dinner and hear the slot audio. You cash in a ticket and stop at a different game. You're never fully out of the stream. Look closely at a modern slots setup and you'll see the trap isn't only financial, it's physical and sensory. The chair keeps you settled. The machine height keeps your eyes locked forward. The button layout becomes automatic. The spin rhythm becomes mechanical. Lights flash often enough to suggest activity even when real profit isn't happening. Small wins are celebrated loudly. Losses are absorbed quietly. And one of the most powerful tricks is that the machine rarely lets the emotional energy die completely. A tease, a near bonus, 2 scatter symbols and a third almost landing. A hit just big enough to create hope, but not big enough to change your outcome. The player feels engaged, not finished. This is where a lot of players get trapped without realizing it. Modern casino convenience turns losing into something that can still feel productive. Maybe you didn't win, but you earned points. Maybe you're down, but you got free play. Maybe you lost money, but you had a good run. Maybe you're chasing a feature that feels due even when it isn't. That false sense of progress is powerful because it gives the brain a reason to continue without demanding honest math. The session starts feeling like a process you're moving through instead of a cost you're accumulating. Imagine a player walks into a Las Vegas casino with one simple plan: $100, 1 hour, then done. That sounds controlled. That sounds reasonable. He checks into the hotel, drops his bag, and heads downstairs. The slot floor is right there. He tells himself he'll warm up before dinner. He puts in 20, loses it fast. No big deal. He loads another 20 because the machine just flashed a near bonus and now it feels alive. He gets a few small hits, not enough to cash out, but enough to stay emotionally connected. A cocktail arrives. He settles deeper into the chair. He checks his player account and sees points building. Dinner can wait. He finally stands up after 90 minutes, but instead of leaving, he notices a newer machine a few steps away. Then he remembers he can reload instantly. By the time he looks at the clock on his phone, he's down $240, missed the dinner reservation, and can't clearly identify the exact moment the plan broke. That's the trap. Not one reckless decision, a chain of easy ones. A lot of people hear gambling warnings and picture desperation, someone wildly chasing losses, someone pounding buttons in panic. But the convenience trap often looks calmer than that. That's what makes it harder to respect. The player may look totally composed, no scene, no meltdown, no dramatic music, just a person sitting comfortably in a beautifully designed environment making one low-resistance decision after another. The danger is not always emotional chaos. Sometimes it's emotional smoothness. If the session never feels sharply painful, it can continue far longer than the player intended. Then there's the loyalty system. On the surface, it feels smart to use it. Why not get something back? Why not earn comps, rooms, discounts, or free play? But rewards can change the way losses feel. They can make spending feel partially reimbursed even when the math still favors the house. A player can start thinking less about net outcome and more about extracting side benefits. That's how a bad session gets mentally reframed as a strategic session. At least I'm earning something. At least this counts toward offers. At least I'm getting value. And sometimes that little layer of perceived value is enough to keep someone in the chair longer than pure losing ever could. This is where Las Vegas becomes different from a random slot machine in a random room. Vegas knows how to blur entertainment and expenditure. Music, lighting, movement, service, comfort, alcohol, nearby restaurants, nearby bars, nearby tables, all of it works together to keep the experience fluid. The trap is environmental. You are not constantly being told to gamble, you're simply never far away from the next invitation. The floor keeps presenting play as the easiest next move. Not the smartest move, not the best move, the easiest one. And here's the real reveal. The trap works best when you don't feel trapped. If a casino made the manipulation too obvious, people would resist it. So the smarter design is invisible design, helpful design, comfortable design. Design that lets you tell yourself you're still fully in control because no one is technically forcing you to do anything. But behavioral traps rarely feel like force. They feel like preference. They feel like convenience. They feel like your own idea. That's why this kind of casino engineering is so effective. It doesn't overpower the player. It collaborates with the player's impulses. Once that happens, people stop measuring the session clearly. They stop thinking in totals and start thinking in moments. One bonus, one reload, one transfer, one machine change, one more try. That fragmentation matters, because when losses are split into convenient pieces, they feel smaller than they are. When time is broken into short emotional bursts, it feels shorter than it is. And when the environment keeps resetting your focus to the next spin, the next hit, the next feature, your brain stops evaluating the bigger picture. That is where people get caught hardest, not in the spin itself, but in the loss of perspective around the spin. If you want to spot this trap in real time, watch for 3 things. First, the moment convenience starts replacing intention. If you're no longer playing because you chose a clear session and you're now playing because it's simply easy to continue, you're in the danger zone. Second, watch for emotional momentum. If the machine keeps making you feel like something is about to happen, even though your balance is sliding down, stop and reset. Third, watch for the loyalty and comfort effect. If drinks, points, seating, or location are helping justify continued play, you need to separate comfort from outcome. A comfortable losing session is still a losing session. The smartest defense is to rebuild friction on purpose. Decide your cash amount before you sit down, not during the session. Decide your exit point before you chase a feeling. Stand up physically at fixed intervals, even if you think you're fine. Don't let points, comps, or convenience become the reason you ignore your actual result. And most importantly, never confuse a smooth experience with a safe one. The cleaner and easier the session feels, the more carefully you should pay attention. Las Vegas didn't just build casinos that take money, it built environments that make continued play feel natural. That is the new trap. Not pressure, not panic, not some obvious red flag, just comfort, access, momentum, and one easy decision flowing into the next. And that's why it catches so many people who thought they would see it coming. If you've ever felt a session stretch longer than you planned without a clear reason why, you've already seen this trap in action. Comment the one pattern you notice most on a casino floor, because sometimes the fastest way to break a trap is to name it out loud.